Are you a racist?
You can't call me or any black person any place in the world a racist. We don't have the power to do to white people what white people have done to us. And even if we did, we don't have that low-down, dirty nature.
So do you believe there are any good white people?
If there are, I haven't met them. Where are they?
And racism is a group system of exploitation, discrimination, oppression, bias, where one group seeks to deny all members of another group their fair share of resources, opportunities, and privileges. You know why you can't be a racist? You don't own a damn thing white people need in order to live. White people need you for nothing, but you need them. Whose schools our kids go to? Theirs. Our money in whose banks? Theirs. Who's building the houses we need to rent and buy? Them. Who's shipping our stuff around the world that we need to order to live? Them. You follow me? They don't need us for shit. We need them for everything. We are as dependent on white people today as we were when slavery ended 157.
So I found this interesting video online where a black person, a renowned black person, Dr. Cloud Anderson, was saying that black people cannot be racist. Yes, this is mind-blowing, because if black people can't be racist, the idea or the word reverse racism should never exist.
We cannot really be racist because racism is prejudice plus power. Nothing I say up here nor anywhere in the world will impact, stop fronting, will impact on any white folks in this audience, on your job, in politics, in economics, in housing, in the society. We don't have the power to do that, so we cannot be racist. You know what I'm saying?
I don't want you to let people keep telling you that black people can be racist. You cannot be racist. The word does not exist for you. Racism means group-based. Racism means a power relationship. A power relationship between two groups, where one group owns and controls so much that they can use their wealth and their powers to deprive and hurt and injure another group. That's what racism is. And no place can you find a black person on earth that can be a racist. Only thing you can get at best is a black reactionary. That means a black person who's reacting to white racism. If black folk had been racist, they'd have been racist 400 years ago. They would have stopped people from depriving and hurting and castrating and lynching and exploiting them 400 years ago. That's why if you go back through history, you cannot find one single solitary instance any place in history on this earth where black folk have had enough power and wealth to come together to do injury to another group and take something from them. In the United States, you've never seen any blacks come together as an organization, as a group, to hurt any other group. Blacks have never done anything to Jews or to whites or anybody else, Asians or Hispanics, as a group. We can't practice racism. We don't even have a community to practice racism. But on the other hand, I can go through history books and I can show you mountains, thousands, maybe millions of instances where everybody else have done things mean to us, to deprive and hurt us, by social customs, by extra legal and legal means, by laws to do in black folk. You can't be a racist unless you got power and wealth for your group to be able to hurt other people and take and do them in, and we don't have it. So all we are reactions to white racism.
But we must look at the fact that we don't teach hatred. Everywhere we go as black people, we face hatred. Look at it. Look at it. Angel food cake, white people say, is white. Devil's food cake, you say, is black. You wear white to weddings and black to funerals. Black ball, black male. You give us a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pale-skinned, buttermilk complexion Jesus in contradiction to the black Jesus in the Bible. Our own babies, according to behavioral scientists, our baby girls, when confronted with choosing between a black doll and a white doll, there has been so much damage done, they choose the white doll and say the black doll is ugly. So racism is everywhere and it's institutionalized.
The whole problem goes back to 1619. In 1619, there was no such thing. Y'all be clear on this. There was no such thing basically as racism. Racism didn't exist before black slavery started. You had conflicts between ethnic groups. You had conflicts between religious groups. And you had cultural disagreements. But you never had racism until black enslavement started. Racism is a word that means race. It means group.
You made the statement that black people can't be racist. First of all, do you believe that?
Yeah. Black people cannot be racist. Racism is an institution. It's not a feeling. It's not a word. So black people cannot be racist because there is nothing that black people can do that will put white people on a lower level than them. Okay. And that's what racism is. Racism is a system that's going to disenfranchise you. It's going to take away opportunities from you. Black people cannot do that to white people in this country. All over I'm not even going to say in this country, all over the world, that's not going to be a thing.
If a black person went outside and saw a white person there and called him a cracker, would that make him racist?
No. Cracker is not dehumanizing. There is not one word that a black person can call a white person that's dehumanizing.
He thinks that a black person can be racist. A black person cannot be a racist. Racism is a power relationship between groups of people. That's all it is. It means when one group of people have control of so much wealth and power and resource that it can deprive, hurt, and injure and exploit another group to benefit itself. Never in the history of this earth have black folk ever controlled that much resources and where they can have gone out of their way to exploit, injure, and do something to whites. So therefore, racism only started in the 16th century when you began to commercialize slavery against blacks. That's when racism started. There was no such thing as racism before that.
Can black folks be racist? No. And the reason black people cannot be racist, is because racism is about privileges
and power.
Yep. You ain't got no privileges and you control nothing. No. In order to be racist, you have to control the institution.
That's right.
And the resources. You have to be able to grant concessions and take them back.
That's right.
Do you control the economy?
Nope.
Do you control any major industry? Do you control the criminal justice system? Black people can be prejudiced, but you cannot be racist. In order to be racist, you got to have power and privilege.
Yep.
One of the most annoying discussions that I see take place is the argument about whether black people can be racist or not. And before I get into the Google definition that most people are using in order to justify why this is even debatable, I gotta ask, to the people that raised this question in the first place and say yes, that they can be racist, who are you protecting? What people have been so harmed by black racism that you need to stand in their defense? Is there a people that have been colonized by Africans and brought to a new world that they didn't want to go to and forced to build an African empire? Is there some people in Asia or Europe with an African last name and speak an African tongue that have been robbed of their history? After World War II, a doctor named Gregory Stanton wrote a thesis on the 10 stages of genocide. Most of these stages America has already gone through, but that 10th stage is what speaks to people asking whether or not black people can be racist. It's the stage where the perpetrator decides to deny the history that they've done to people and blame the victims instead. Google defines racism as prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism by an individual, community, or institution against a person or people on the basis of their membership to a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is a minority. A lot of y'all skip over the prejudice and discrimination and go to antagonism by an individual and then skip to against a person. But what you fail to read is the part that says on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group. We have never been prejudiced, antagonized, or discriminated anyone just on the basis of their membership to a racial category we did not create. Some of us may be apprehensive or defensive based on our treatment by other racial groups, because we're not going to act like the past 400 years didn't happen. But some of y'all think retaliation against the system is racism towards an individual, and that's really just showing your guilt.
Factually, black people do not have the structural power in the United States to be racist.
So I may be a little late, but the video just came to my attention. And I went in the comments and it seemed like a lot of people are really confused. irate a little bit about the fact that Black people do not have the structural power in the United States to be racist. So for me, I thought this was just a very simple statement. I thought it was something that was commonly understood, that racism is systemic. It is more than Black people not liking you. It is more than Black people not wanting to be around you. Racism is a system that affects people's ability to find housing, to get jobs, to live in desirable neighborhoods. It affects how long they live. You've seen the rates of murders against Black people by police and other systems. It affects every single thing. Look up weathering, okay? So Black people, we don't have the power to inflict those systems on white people in the United States. That just is what it is. You go have to take that to the altar. Also, this is not a new statement. I noticed in the video that other people kind of understood what I was trying to say. Lizzo has a video on TikTok about how racism is a system. Exactly what I'm trying to say.
Black people know they're not American, but they will fight like hell to protect that identity because they don't want to be identified with who they really are, and that's being African. We hate our Africanity. That's exactly why when I created the Unapologetically African movement, you see how quickly it morphed into Unapologetically Black. I never said unapologetically Black. I said unapologetically African. But even within the Black consciousness community, we are still anti-African because deep down within our subconscious, we were all conditioned by the same superstructure that made us feel that Africa wasn't anything worth claiming. So the Blackness is a step away from whiteness, Envy,
right?
But it's still 10 steps away from your Africanity.
But we're raised like that. You know, as a kid, I'm not going to say my parents, but you always know when you get out the hood, you're doing well. When you live with the white folks, you're doing well.
Exactly.
When you have a lawyer and your lawyer's white, you're doing well. When you have a white accountant, you're doing well. That's
so your standard of excellence is outside of your community.
Absolutely.
And we're the only people who have a standard of excellence, an ideal to achieve that was created by our oppressors.
Because if they are saying Black people are not racist, then I believe we also need to go back to the dictionary. We've seen white people coming forward and explaining and complaining as well that Black people are racist towards them. We've seen this in South Africa, not far away, just here in South Africa. White people are saying Black people are racist, this and that. Yeah, I believe that racism can take both sides. And I believe one thing, I'm just here to speak the truth. And I believe another thing, in as much as white people have caused a lot of racism around the world, not only to Africans, but around the world, I also attest that racism can go both ways. Racism is favoring yourself, putting yourself first over another person. That is basically it. That's basically racism. But now the racism in USA, where I understand this, is because when he's saying Black people cannot be racist, he's discussing this with the contextual meaning, not the denotative meaning. Contextual meaning can be different from the meaning that we are used to. This person, while he's saying this, he's speaking that white people cannot, Black people cannot be racist because of the context of racism in the United States of America. Many scholars, many thinkers of African American descent have come forward, have explained racism, its occurrences, and remember, slavery caused racism. Racism did not cause slavery, you understand? After the white man found that he was very, very greedy and he had a huge thirst for money, colonization, not before colonization, slavery came first before colonization. Now, he sought a way he could pay more money, you understand? Now, humans in Africa were thought to be, we are not commodities. We were thought to be commodities back then. They would come here and buy us for $2 or $3. They would put us on those shipping containers, export us all the way to the Americas and the South America. In these places, what these people could do is that they could sit down and do a gambling. not really a gambling. You understand? An auction, yeah. The word is auction. They would auction Africans. They would auction Africans to the highest bidder. The standard price was $350 for a single African slave. You understand? Because it was the Industrial Revolution. People were really purchasing black people because black person was unique, and because we had a dark skin, they thought we were strong. They thought we were resistant to diseases. They thought we would, you know, like Charles Darwin says, the organism that survives is not the organism that is stronger. It's the organism that is able to adapt. Now they saw that this person can be able to adapt to this environment. And now, this is one of the reasons they were paying this amount for a human. Back then, $350 was not like the $350 we have today. But still, you cannot put value on human life. You can never do that. Yeah, when the brother Khalid Muhammad and Dr. Claude Anderson are saying black people cannot be bought, black people are not racist, I understand. Black people did not enslave African Americans. African Americans were enslaved by the white people. We have the evidence of this. The white people are not only bad to the Africans. Remember, America was a single country, was a country that was not divided. Single is what I mean by that. One country. We didn't have Canada, USA, Mexico. It was one large forest, and we had these indigenous Americans, the Navajo, the Cherokees. We still have plenty of them. The Americans came and unalived them. Yes, they unalived them because they thought they were God sent, and so they had to unalive them. So if black people are not racist, I also think indigenous African Americans are not racist or cannot be racist. You understand? This, by saying this, we are giving full meaning to the context of black people are not racist. You understand? Racism and slavery has never taken place between black people, between black people owning white people. No, maybe in the modern times, but I've still not heard of it. You know, one of the things that God promised is that people who are not listening to Him will pass through hard suffering. Some of the sufferings that black people have faced, I believe, are sufferings that have been prophesied in the Bible. You know, I'm not so sure of this, but some of these Israelites became black people. That is what we are told outside here. Some of them became black people, and because of disobedience, they were put into slavery. So anybody who places another person into the point of slavery is a person who thinks they are superior than them. And this thought is produced by the love of money. After they have the love of money, they find a reason to conquer their consciousness. They have to conquer that consciousness. Consciousness is a firewall that protects from such kind of thoughts. It's a self-firewall for our own self-thoughts. We cannot always be acting on our thoughts. We have people who have obsessive compulsive disorder. If people were to let their thoughts work, there would be chaos, there would be lawlessness. That is what would happen. And the white person, who was the colonialist and who was the imperialist and who was the slave master, he made lawlessness become a law by enslaving people, enslaving Africans, and unaliving the original inhabitants of the USA. That is how I understand this video, and maybe you might have your own understanding. No hesitation. I would love you to share your thoughts on the comment section so that we can reach a common ground and have a common understanding. Give your thoughts on the comment section. I'm waiting to listen.